Hello, fellow agents. This is Anthony Pepe, Makeup Department Head for The Blacklist, and you're listening to The Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
Thankfully, much like Marvin, I won't be here for long. Welcome back to the award-winning The Blacklist Exposed podcast. Greetings, one and all. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
That doesn't mean you're like going to hang out in the parking lot all sad, are you?
No.
Okay, because there's an 800 number you can call if that's the case. And I am Agent Aaron Peterson, and hey, anybody count the Liz flashbacks this season? I feel like we should have had a ticker at the bottom. That would have been great. When this thing closed out to be like, 37, we're done. But thanks for joining us yet again for number 80 on the Blacklist. Marvin Gerard, parts 1 and 2. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com.
Or we're just going to label it Marvin Gerard Conclusion.
Okay, whatever.
We're just going to pretend it aired on one night.
It's, yeah, like it should have. But I also, you were sick last week, which is why, if you heard the previous episode, I went through a whole thing saying Rory's going to be here and all this. I want to give a shout out to Rory because he was ready to go. And Troy totally bailed on him. That's what he did. He basically just said, I don't want to do it. I don't feel good, whatever. And poor Rory was left holding the bag. So thanks, Roy. Thanks for being there. Thanks for being the guy ready to go. I'm sorry that you chose such a weak partner because I don't feel great. You can hear the sniffles, right? You can hear it in my sinuses. I'm still here. I would have showed up, Rory. Mm-hmm. I would have done there. I would have been there for you.
Hey, for the record, there was no way I was going to leave this enterprise to Rory. I mean, I've worked with you this whole time. I can't believe that you would have given it over to Rory instead of giving it to me.
You just threw it at Rory, like not leaving it to Rory. Jeez. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about this show before my sinuses really start kicking in.
Before we talk about the show, though, we have to talk about the sisters because they were in the first episode, but they weren't in the second episode.
Yeah.
So the question we had was, were the sisters involved in any way with the Marvin Gerard shenanigans? And the listeners spoke and said
76% say the sisters are loyal to Red. 13% said the sisters were shady. And 1% said Weecha is loyal, but watch out for Mears. Yeah. Well, we don't know the answer, really, because even though it seems like we know the answer, we don't really know, do we?
Well, there was no, in part 1, there was no flashbacks where the sisters and Marvin hooked up, so.
It's true. We don't have that yet. But no, it seems like at this point, they were not involved.
Oh, can we insert the classic line? But it is the Blacklist, so...
You never know.
Just
like you didn't actually see Marvin's body. So we just, Panna Baker heard about it. Somebody told her. We don't know for sure. I mean, could have been faking his death for the deal.
I mean, even though we heard things like There Goes My Baby as a song as Liz dies and the giant boisterous laugh of the family when they're all together from Dembe.
Like, we'll talk about that. Like we're coming to that.
Oh my gosh.
And I think it wasn't Eisendrath. I know it was an EP. Was it Eisendrath who said that this is the end of the Liz storyline?
This is the end of the Liz storyline. That is correct.
Yeah. So that is the end of the Liz storyline. So
it's a shame. I really like the outside of Pascal's. It looks really nice. It's soothing.
I thought it would have been the end of it when she, got
died?
shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And died right there. Or maybe when they showed her corpse or when they showed her death scene a few times. I kind of thought we would be through, but it was a nice send off. And I feel like they had to go somewhere. They didn't know where to go. So they kind of jumped on that. And I think probably from fans from last season, right? Because a lot of fans last season were saying, how did Van Dyke get there? So it's a good leaping off point.
Yeah. It's a good answer to that question. I'll buy it for $1.
Sure. And now I think we have a really cool setup for what season 10 could be.
And 11 and 12 and 13, because we can basically do all 8 years all over again and just do Wu Jing conclusion, Milton Bobbitt conclusion, Frederick Barnes conclusion.
Could be, right?
And I know some of those people are dead. I just don't remember that far back because it's been a decade.
Are they, though?
Literally been a decade. Oh. But we have one final question for you before we close out the season. Do you like this new idea for season 10? Do you like the League of Evil? The Evil
Legion
League of
Evil.
Doom.
The Legion of Doom.
The Suicide Squad.
It really is when you think about it, right? Yeah, we're going to go after Red. Well, you're probably going to die. You're probably going to die. You're probably going to die. You might make it. You'll be in prison again. You're going to die. Da-da-da-da. Yep.
We'll talk more about that as we get along. Now, before we relive more Season 1 characters, let's go ahead and get into this week's case profile. And last week's as well, for that matter. Not just this week's case profile, but both of them, because it was a part 1 and 2 that should have aired on the same evening.
Uno and dos. Well, Marvin Gerard, we get his motivations. We know why he had to have this elaborate setup to kill Liz off. And when I say elaborate, do I mean elaborate?
Elaborate.
Very, very elaborate, I would say. And a bit petty, to say the least.
100% petty.
So basically the impression I got, and we do get a glimpse into his relationship with LaCroix. I was glad they brought him back because I think he's a fun actor.
Yeah.
But Marvin is simply pissed that Liz is getting everything. He feels it should be mine. This is mine. And he's pissed. So even though he knows that this is who Red is entrusted, this is who Red loves most in the world, yada, 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 he decides it's a great idea to take her out. Now, what's odd about this for me is we've never, ever seen this side of Marvin before. So does this motivation work for you? Because basically the whole season hinges on it.
No, because I think the challenge would be that prior to Liz's death, because that's prior to the 2-year time jump, there's no motivation for Marvin to be like, he was running the show in the background. Dembe was the number 2. Like the whole 8 seasons, it sure seemed like Marvin was just there when Marvin needed to show up. But he wasn't running the operation. He wasn't in the background doing things. Sure, he had account access and things of that nature, but it didn't seem like he was like the criminal mastermind keeping the thing going in all the episodes that we see previously. Now, after 2 years of running this stuff, because Red goes and disappears and then shows back up, then I can see some motivation being like, the hell were you for the last 2 years? I've been running this stuff. Screw you. I'm taking you out and taking your stuff because it's mine now. That would make a lot more sense. But
yeah, I mean, he was kind of wormy a little bit. And wasn't there a long point where he wasn't even working for Red?
Yeah, probably after he got kicked in the nuts by Brimley's goat or whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember the time frame, but I know there's a time period where he wasn't even working for Red.
It was like estranged.
And I feel like, hey, you know, TV is TV. You kind of have to accept a lot of things as they come, and mostly I do. This is the motivation doesn't work for me. It just never worked for me. I think it's kind of silly a little bit. I really think Fisher Stevens delivered in terms of the role and trying to measure up to it.
Yeah,
it's just
the evilness of it all. I thought was great. Right? He's like, oh, I'm gonna have Van Dyke kill her because, hey, Van Dyke, you actually want to like honor your boss and your boss's death.
I like that aspect. Yeah, I never got and don't get me wrong, I do agree that an attorney. I mean, Red had said something I think in the conclusion episode, right, where he was my attorney for X number of years. Do you have any idea how clever you have to be to fill that role? And that's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
And they do try, I think they try very hard in the show, both episodes, to illustrate that a lot of the stuff was behind the scenes and it was brought up to the surface because of the fact that Liz was getting everything. And that, you know, you see people that are denied promotions and they start lashing out. Okay. And I think that a lot of that worked. It's just overall, when we haven't seen it and we've been watching the show since day one as faithlessly as we have over and over and over multiple times, it just becomes one of those things where I'll accept it. I don't buy it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I accept it. I don't buy it.
Like we said,
I'll let it go.
At least if it's season 8 in that finale, you know, they would have stopped by Marvin's office and said, "Here, sign these papers."
Yeah.
So we could have at least seen them at the office. So I think that would have helped sell it a little bit more for this season.
And you made a great point, and I feel like it's a very important point. If anything we saw was hinged on a scene we had seen in a previous season, like last season, I think it would make all the difference in the world. But because there wasn't any scene where we got any of that, it just felt like we manufactured this to kind of ride off this, and instead of it fit. You know, where we talked about this in the last episode, where in a lot of the big mysteries in the show, it always felt like they were all connected. You just got to go back and find the pieces. There were no pieces to find here. There really weren't. It's all from this season.
Yeah, or if we at least seen LaCroix or something and they're like, hey, Red, this is my buddy LaCroix. Come have a drink with us.
Something. Yeah, just something like that. So it, but I accept it. And I went with it because I think Fisher delivered, and I felt like these were two pretty fun episodes. I really like the second one, the conclusion, the most. That
I do too.
Really, really good. And I love the setup. There's a lot of potential there because I think, well, I know we've talked about it on the show. We're going to talk about that later. Maybe not us specifically, but I know I've talked with someone that's not Troy Heinrichs about this, which we're going to bring up here in a little bit. But let's move on.
I think the gist of it, though, was like the first part was it was Martin's flashback story, right? Like we got, Dembe's flashback and Wrestler's flashback.
Sure,
and
yeah.
This was Marvin's flashback for part 1, which then got us all okay, everybody's up to speed now. Okay, cool. Here's how we're going to catch them. And then we got the chase episode.
Chase episode, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because really things moved pretty quick, which is probably, which made both episodes very fun. I don't think there's a lot that happened, though, really, when you think about it. I mean, it kind of, you could get all this in one episode if you really wanted to, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even the whole, coming on the plane, who's here? Everybody clear the plane, lock the door. It's like, Wrestler, you didn't check the bathroom.
Well, he was waiting, didn't you know?
And then he just comes back when he's waiting out the front instead. Like, that's fun. I like that.
It was fun. Ridiculous, but fun. There was a lot of ridiculous, but fun. The airport terminal was ridiculous, but fun. The Red scolding Cooper and telling him we don't, you just blew it. I'm not working with you or whatever anymore. And it's just like, we're doing this. And then he's back with him like the next episode. So he's fine with Cooper. They're having drinks and stuff. So ridiculous, but fun. I mean, hey, it is TV. But we did see Van Dyke agreeing to assist Marvin. We saw a stone cold killer like Van Dyke taking Marvin seriously. I think that was an important section of these two episodes.
He talked to him just like he would have wanted to be talked to himself, right?
Yeah,
like I'm Red's number 2. I get the motivation. I get
where you're coming from.
The love, the dedication, the support that I've done for all these years. Don't you want to do that for Townsend? Don't you want to finish the job? And Townsend's like, yeah, for sure.
I don't think anyone watching the show really ever felt, this is my opinion, I'm not speaking for all fans. You guys, you have no problem speaking for yourselves. So speak up, blow us up in mentions if you disagree. Let us know. But like you said, I don't think anybody watching the show ever saw him as a number 2. He was just a lawyer. And I think we always saw Dembe as a number 2. Always.
Correct. Or Kaplan would have been a number 2 at the time.
At the time, sure. Yeah. I actually, yeah. She's more the cleaner, but I would still put Dembe number 2 then, even if he didn't have a lot of speaking lines.
I'd say Kaplan and Dembe both would be higher than Marvin would have been.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Marvin is still carrying their laundry as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? So that's just, like I said, I accept it. I just don't buy it. We saw LaCroix enjoying the fruits of Red's disappearance, and Marvin won't kill him because he's a friend. That's always a mistake. You should just kill him. So as soon as Red knows it's Marvin is cool with killing him then. So,
at that point, it's a kill or be killed situation.
Sure.
If I don't take him out, he's going to take me out because he knows that Red's going to keep pulling the thread. He's going to not stop until he achieves what he needs to achieve.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah.
Well, the airport terminal gives Marvin a chance to escape. We saw that. Red and the task force are both in a race to catch up, and Aram figures out Marvin is headed to another airfield 30 miles away, and that's where Dembe and Wrestler catch up to Marvin, like you said. And Wrestler's like, I'm not going to check the plane. I'm just going to have some of this lovely whiskey, cognac, whatever it was, and wait here for him to pop out. Maybe have some pills. I don't know. So Marvin hints, this was actually, I like this, that Marvin hints at the 99% of the Reddington organization we don't know about. Red allows us to see the 1%. I really like that because I feel like we haven't had enough of that, because we started with oh, God, what was the whole thing with the tattoo? I feel like that was just dropped by the wayside, by the way.
Tattoo.
Where he became the marked man. The Skinner, thank you. I feel like the Skinner symbolism has kind of been dropped by the wayside, and we're just back to the task force as we know it. Or maybe that was the quick version to get back to Reddington as we know him. But Marvin said some really interesting stuff. I run Red's organization. Same intel, even more workability. they kind of
poke fun at him, right? Cynthia's
they kind of poke fun. You know, that's
like,
not clever. That's insidious.
Yeah.
And I thought that was okay. But what he wants is he wants Red's deal, and he wants Red's perks. And Red is going to go to
the fluffy pillows, the down
everything.
comforter,
the whole deal.
thing.
He wants the sweetness.
Pens in the neck from person that's dead.
Do you blame him? I want that too. It's a sweet deal. I would go out and start my own organization if I can get that deal, just so I could. I just think it'd be cool. And he wants Red to go to jail. The task force disbanded. And also, I want to say, Marvin in that interrogation room admitted to framing Harold. So as far as I'm concerned, that should be more than enough. He doesn't need any promises because he admitted it. He's like, well, yeah, I did do that.
And clearly didn't need him alive because the AG was still like, it's all good, Cooper. Even though he's dead, I still believe you. Yeah,
exactly. So that's a weird turn of events. But whatever gets Cooper out, we're all good, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's the other big question. So we don't necessarily buy the motivations. We accept them, but we don't buy them. But do you buy the play for Red's placement for his deal?
100% actually.
Okay, explain.
I'm sitting there listening to him, and he's being all like this is totally going to happen. It's like, oh, hey, Cynthia, I know you're here. It's like he knows exactly the play that's going to happen because he's that good of a lawyer. And so for him coming up with the idea to say, I'm going to do exactly what Reddington does, but you can trust me because Red's a criminal. I think that's a great play because the AG is going to be like, he's not wrong. And that's exactly what happens. The AG blesses the plan to say Marvin is now going to be the informant with a new task force. Red's going to get arrested by Cooper next time Cooper sees him, and everybody wins. I like it.
I like it too. I really dug that. So even though I didn't dig the motivations so much, I really love that play. I thought that was an interesting way to do it. And it actually did make sense because an attorney would be privy to a lot of the connections and contacts. So, and obviously if there are any contracts, he would have those too.
Yep.
So there's a lot of there that I'm like, okay, I might not buy you as number 2, but I buy you as being the legal mind behind it all that would have all the know-how. So that was pretty exciting. Good stuff. I got really excited by that. I'm like, all right, we got a new direction. I kind of dig this. So the task force finds a guard rat. And he turned so quick. It was probably the quickest turn I've ever seen. Almost like he was looking at the time for the episode, and he's like, "Man, we got 44 minutes. I'm willing to talk." So he says Red is breaking into prison, which I thought was a really cool idea. Even better, that wasn't the plan because Red used Carolyn to get Marvin out. Cat and mouse, cat and mouse. Now, this is where I'm back. So I didn't buy the motivations. Then I really am into the whole plan. And then I get to a point where I really disagree with what happens next.
Okay.
Like from a story perspective. They have this tit for tat, right? This chat in the judge's office between Red and Marvin. I wasn't your servant. I was your partner. You had no right to be so reckless with it. Red says we were never partners. I never dreamed it would cost me Elizabeth. I wonder how many cowards have gone to their own graves, insisting on their own courage. I love that line, by the way. That's fantastic.
It's basically saying, like, is your ego going to get in the way?
Exactly. Then he goes on, to mention framing Hetty, basically bringing Kaplan back. Cowardice. You can't hide from me. You can't best me. You can't replace me. No deal could ever protect you from me. And then he leaves Marvin alive. Which is the only way the next step works, right?
From a story perspective, from a writing perspective.
I love this show. This infuriated me. It makes no sense. He has literally spent the entire season searching for who killed Liz. He has never had any problem in any other episode of any other season,
including
putting
Kaplan.
Down someone who betrays him.
Yeah.
Kaplan
Do you buy
included.
This? Shot her in the head.
Shot her in the head in a field. Do you buy this?
No. Okay. The minute the judges all come in and Marvin was still sitting in the chair, I was like, what? I don't understand. What just happened? Where did Red go?
Yeah, and this is one of those, man, where I love the show, and I know people that make the show listen to the show, and I am not trying to nitpick. I'm really not. It just doesn't fit the show. that I've seen for 9 years now. It doesn't fit the character of Red. It isn't. The guy is literally responsible for, my opinion, his daughter's death. No way does he walk out of that damn room. There's just no way. Unless
the one devil's advocate
there's something drastic that he gets out of it, and there was nothing that he got out of it. Sorry, go ahead.
Other than just, the fact that he did hire Brimley to kick the shit out of Marvin Gerard once before. Like, he knows that Red's serious. And so I think what Red was doing here is putting the fear of God, into Marvin Gerard, because Marvin Gerard's going like, you know what? Like, he was even telling LaCroix, it's like, he's not going to stop. He's going to keep pulling strings. He's going to keep pulling strings. He's eventually going to find me. And so he, like, Red, being who he is, work that angle to get to a point where Marvin's just like, it doesn't matter. I'm dead anyway. Screw it. Let me go out the way I want to go out.
But why? What would be the difference between him killing him? I guess you could make the argument that they would pull his deal. They wouldn't want to work with him if he killed Marvin in the judge's office.
Potentially.
But that would make no sense in everything else that has happened.
Yeah. The issue with this is that Marvin's ending is Marvin, right? He knows he's dead anyway, so he's just going to go out the way he wanted to go out, just like Kaplan went out the way she wanted to go out at the end of season 4. But the fact that Red doesn't do it is the thing that drives me crazy.
Now,
because we've seen him do it before. He went after Dembe times. Of all people.
He went after Dembe like the second he thought he betrayed him.
Like instantaneously. And then he passed out because he was drugged.
Now, there are going to be some that make the case, well, he did that because he was trying to protect Cooper, because he had to leave Marvin Gerard alone until Cooper got his deal so that Agnes could be protected. Now, I could see a case for that, even if I still think that's bogus. You know what I'm saying? Like, that
he was willing.
I get the argument.
He is willing to let Mirza go because finding Liz's killer is more important. That he's willing to break up with his girlfriend. That means he's going to kill the guy when he finds the guy that killed Liz. So yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow. Other than the fact that it's written specifically to get the story to work.
And don't get me wrong, I love where it goes from here.
I do too.
That's the trick. Like, it's a hard pill to swallow, but then the medicine tastes so much better in the next scene. So I'm like, God, it's hard to buy. I don't buy it at all. Even less than the motivations. Like, the motivation, I think, is pretty weak. This is really weak. But where they go next is where it saves the whole season, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And just be careful with that medicine you took, because Hydrant's Wrath is tracking you right now.
There's a tracker in that pill. No, and that's probably hyperbolic. I mean, there's some good episodes in this season. I think overall, it's probably my least favorite season. But a lot of that they were trying to recover a lot from some pieces that had switched too, which, you have to take that into account.
Yeah, I mean, they were up against the gun because, Liz wanted out, and then John ended up leaving.
Megan wanted out. She's not the same person.
Same person. So I mean, there was just some things they had to like rework and retool and all that fun stuff. Maybe the whole, Legion of Doom, group of blacklisters coming back to hunt Red. Maybe that was always in the cards from a long time ago. Maybe that was always a season potential for like a final season to like hunt Red down and then see if Red can finally escape one last time or something. So yeah, I'm not disappointed with the season. I just wish the season we're about to get was this season rather than next season.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Like, oh, here's this big secret. Here's this big reveal. And now that the big reveal is out, all these people come out of the woodworks and hunt him down. I think that would have been a better transition than, oh, it's Liz again, Liz again, Liz again, Liz again. Flashback. Like, did we do the 2-year time jump? Because I feel like we saw the whole 2 years from everybody's point of view.
We did. Rather than actually show the 2 years, we just, we lived them in flashbacks.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. And my God, I was just waiting, like, if I have to see Liz die one more time. And thankfully, we got a good grave scene, though. I really love the grave scene, but I'll get there in a second.
Yeah, because they're all sitting there like, hey, Liz, hey, Liz, hey, Liz, hey, Liz. They never once said hi to Tom.
Good. Can I get
one last time of feeling?
Pour one out for my homie. An applause for my homie. You're still dead, Tom. God, You're never coming back from New Amsterdam. Never. Wu Jing is a red victim, and we get to go back to him, which I really love. Marvin tells him, and this is a blacklister from previous seasons, just so you know. If you
Episode 3 of the entire show.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So Marvin tells him that Red is the one that set him up, and that Red is the reason why all these criminals all over the world are in jail, and even gave him a list. His own blacklist, if you will. The blacklist of doom. So he says to him, I thought you worked for him, and he thought that too. So this is our setup for next season, and that is something I love. I absolutely love that turn. I think that could make for a very fun season if every episode we see previous blacklisters, people it's like the greatest hits package, right? All the people that he has put in jail now know, and they're coming after him. Bam, you get, I don't want to say 3 or 4 years, but you've definitely got at least one great season of pretty exciting adventures if you really want them.
Oh, that means Vanessa Cruz could be back because she's still alive.
Anybody on the blacklist except for Liz Keene, Kaplan, anybody that's dead. The ones that have deceased next to them when you look at the list.
Yeah, who knew that poster was actually going to be the most important thing in the world right now, 10 years later?
And I really hope some of them get their lives back. I think that would be cool because Red kind of screwed them,
I dig it.
I love it. I think that's a great setup for season 10. I really, really do. So, Marvin and Red, they said their goodbyes and he lets them live. But then Marvin kills himself. It should be noted, though, we don't see his body, but somehow Panabaker knows this. So that's what happened in these 2 episodes. And, what I thought was really interesting is that this Legion of Doom, we keep making this joke, which is about a bunch of supervillains. That idea was actually mentioned on our podcast in 2017, not by Troy, not by myself, by someone who works on the show, special effects creator, Anthony Pepe, friend of the show, great guy. But he was talking about just things that he thought would be fantastic. And I thought, Troy and I both thought this would be very, very cool to kind of play back for you to see how accurately he called it. And keep in mind, he is not on the writing staff. He has no advanced knowledge of story. A lot of times he didn't know stuff until, he gets a script. So he was just as shocked and excited, I'm sure, as the rest of us, but I wanted you to hear how close he called this. Take a listen. From 2017, I think it's number 88 or something like that. Blacklist 88, Anthony Pepe interview. Here you go.
I've told this numerous times to anybody who will listen on the set of the Blacklist that what we need on this show is a League of Doom episode where all of the blacklisters that are still alive figure out that Reddington is squawking to the cops, and they all join forces to come get him.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Then you get like 10 of the hardest blacklisters that we haven't killed. And they all get together and use their resources to get at Reddington. I would love that. I would geek out with that stuff because it's like, oh, did you see that? They brought back this guy and they brought back Wu Jing and they brought back General Ludd and whoever's not dead. Anybody else is not dead. I don't know who's not dead. But all those people, get them all together and they all come at Reddington at once. And it becomes a new type of cabal.
I love that. I love that idea. John, listen.
Dude, like it's one thing to call the Legion of Doom. It's another thing to be like, what if it was Wu Jing? Like,
exactly.
Seriously, like spot on. 2017, episode 88 of the Blacklist Exposed, 5 years ago.
Or borrowed. Maybe they borrowed it. And they're going to give him a story credit.
It's exactly what he said. It's literally Wu Jing going to go find the Legion of Doom. It's exactly what he said.
Credit for Pepe.
That's what
I want. I want to see a hashtag. Credit for Pepe. I want to see it. I want you guys to fight for him. He deserves it. And I want as many people that listen to this show, tag all the actors, let them know that Anthony Pepe called this direction 5 years ago. Fantastic.
Anthony Pepe is now number 3 to fill that last spot at the top of the blacklist.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be Anthony Pepe on the blacklist.
That's right.
And he's going to be taken out at Heinrich's Hospital. Or Heinrich Psychiatric Facility.
There you go. Whatever it is. It's in Concord, New Hampshire.
You've been there.
I have been there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got some character stuff to get to, but first, how about some music, man? We actually heard some songs this time. One of my favorites, too, by the way.
We heard some really expensive songs.
Yeah,
in these two episodes combined. Part 1, we heard Only the Lonely from Roy Orbison during the 800th time we saw Liz die in front of Pascal's. Then in part 2, we heard Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones as they converge on Marvin's plane. And then at the end of the episode, we heard a new song at the gravesite. We hear Burning House from Aaron Espy. And you can get all of those great songs, almost all of them. I hope we can get Burning House on the playlists over for Apple and Spotify. You get links to those on our website at theblacklisexposed.com.
Now I think you know why they haven't had many songs for many episodes, because they were saving up for some Rolling Stones action, because that ain't cheap.
That is not cheap.
You got to get a cover. That's what you got to
license. You have to license it for not only use in the show, but also use over dialogue. There's like 2 different kinds of licenses you need.
Insane in the membrane. And you know what I love about Roy Orbison is he inspired Chris Isaak, who is my favorite singer. Fun fact.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Why is he my favorite? I have no idea. I don't even like that style of music typically, but for whatever reason, he does it for me. Great in concert too. Really fun. So other characters, Dembe. He helps Red, goes against the task force. That was a little bit of a surprise, but it was fun seeing Dembe back with him, but he still helps out the task force in their time of need. So how'd you like the reconnection here? Because we don't really, it's weird that he's an FBI agent still.
I mean, I don't know if it's so weird now at the end of the day. It's kind of grown on me. I kind of like it. But at the same time, if the sisters are going to be taken home and, is Weech still going to be around? Because I kind of want Dembe back on Red's side if the bad guys are going to come after him.
I guess that's a good question. We've had a whole season of Dembe being on the side of Law and Order, right?
Yeah.
I kind of always loved him as a side of conscience on the darkness, and I've missed that. So now that you've got a full season of FBI, which side of the law do you prefer Dembe is on?
I prefer him to be with Red. I think it works better.
I do too. Nothing against Weech. I think Weech is fine. And actually, I like Weech. It really has grown on me. But Dembe's just he's the man.
I mean, the way they promote people in the FBI, since Park's going to be going out on maternity leave, we can just move Weech over to the FBI and put Dembe back in his spot.
It's pretty easy to get on task force, apparently. Quick deal to be made there. Well, Dembe tells a beautiful story of Liz as a little girl. This was really interesting because this is at the grave. And again, the implication is that this is the end of the Liz storyline. Everything from this point forward will be about Red, and just Red probably being chased by blacklisters. Maybe Agnes will come into play, I'm sure, at some point, and we'll get a Liz mentioned here and there. But the storytelling won't be about the Red and Liz relationship, which is important.
It is over. It's been answered.
It was over last season. We still had a whole season of it. But now we're being
really over.
It's overist, right? It's the most over it's ever overed. But while he's sitting there and he's at this gravestone, which makes me laugh because nobody asked why do you think they sound alike? Mm-hmm. Because I think they all understand. Everyone, I think, understands at this point, except those that don't want to understand. I don't think they are ever coming back to who was Red, because in their minds, they answered it. They confirmed it. They're moving on. Now, in this story, he talks about Liz as a little girl, I think younger than Agnes, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was like 5, 6, 7. They were at a soccer match.
A soccer match, right. And he heard an explosive laugh that was infectious and familiar. And I turned around for a second thinking it was Raymond. That's an important distinction. And then Agnes, Elizabeth, Raymond, they all share this laugh and big tragic heart. As far as I'm concerned, that's literally the show themselves saying, yes, the people that thought that Katerina is Red, that Liz and Katerina are mother and daughter, and that Katerina had surgery, she became Red. Those people are correct. That is the connection. We are moving on. Everyone in the show seems to have acknowledged it at this point. Red has acknowledged it multiple times. Now Dembe's acknowledged it, the only other person that really knows him from that period. I feel like this book is closed, unless I'm missing something that somebody else might want to see, but that's how I took it. And I didn't want that to be the answer. And it just, to me, it just is at this point. Can we move on from it?
Especially with all the parallelisms and things that they've done to the show this season, right? The whole, he's reading a book to Agnes while Dembe's reading a book to his granddaughter.
And over and over and over.
Yeah. It's like those are the Blacklist subtle hints that have always been there, present since day one. So it's like when you get like, there goes my baby, when Red's standing in front of Liz as Liz gets shot. I mean, hello. And then this story from Dembe, it's like you can't overlook it anymore. It's kind of in your face at this point.
Well, I feel like they did it one last time. Like they did the gravestone to say, look, this is us putting it to bed. To me, it really, because I feel like the whole season,
this is us putting it in the ground.
And this is the most important part of that aspect of it is every season until this season, the Who is Red was constantly at not necessarily at the forefront, but as it would be as part of the episodes as they unrolled.
Right. It was the show. It is the mythology up to this point. It was.
This season hasn't even been brought up except when it's been solidified. So to me, it's there. Not to me. I think it's freaking done. Like I am done having the debate with people. When people want to debate it, I'm just like, okay, believe what you want. I just don't care. Feel what you want to feel. Enjoy the show how you want to enjoy it. But if you're talking in terms of what we see, it's been answered. You don't accept it, that's your right. It's been answered.
Yeah.
You don't have to like it. It's been answered. That's the show.
There's lots of people that don't like Lost, but it's been answered. What the island was, what Jack was, what happened, all of it has been answered. It's in the show.
Yeah, I agree. It's been answered. That was just answered very poorly, but it was answered. I'm not a fan of Lost.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Exactly. Everybody's entitled. Hey, and keep debating it. I mean, that's what keeps fans really, really engaged in a show. And I understand that. On the same token, like we've gotten a lot of, fan mail this season or listener email saying, why didn't you approach this? Why didn't you approach this? Why aren't you questioning who Red is anymore? And I'm like, it's answered. Give me something, show me anything that contradicts that opinion and I'll address it. But there has been nothing. They have intentionally avoided it. As far as I'm concerned, it's done until somebody, well, no, in my opinion, it's just done. And I think it's time to move on from it. But on the same token, if you want us to talk about it, there has to be something in the show to talk about.
Yeah. And they also have parts of this episode where you have stories of Red's in the car with the judge's daughter and you get the whole thing about like, I did this for, your parent. And it's like, oh, a parent and a daughter. And it's like, we're taking care of you just like we're going to take care of your family. And it's like, you can't get hit in the head with that any more than you already are. It's just so blatant at this point.
Yeah. Yep. So that's why we haven't really spoken to it because there's nothing really to speak to. And I feel like this really kind of solidified it. So it is what it is. I don't see any reason to take it any further than that. It is what it is.
And not because I was right or anything. It's because it's been in the show.
Well, for you, it's because you were right. For me, it's because it was in the show. Because I can admit I was wrong. I mean, I never ruled it out, but for years, I didn't think that was the answer. So there you go. It's okay to be wrong sometimes, man.
Yeah.
It's okay. Everybody's throwing darts. So Park, she hits the field to surveil Red. We find out that she's pregnant. So I guess her brain looks okay. And now she's going to take a medical leave. That's where we leave her with the season.
Because she's pregnant. That's why she's taking the leave. Because she's pregnant. That's where the headaches are from. They're not from the injury. They're from the pregnancy.
That's what it seems like. So it's also a way to get her back in the field when she comes back, right? After she has the baby. Now we can get her back in the field.
Exactly.
Cha-ching. But other than that, not a whole lot for Park this episode, these two episodes. Cooper, he questions Marvin, which I thought was funny because in a court of law that would never ever hold up.
Never.
No, because he's actually he's tied into this whole thing with Marvin, so he can't question him and actually be admitted into court. But Marvin wouldn't know that. He's a lawyer. I
mean, unless he wanted to represent himself because Cooper was a lawyer or something, and then you have two people representing each other themselves.
Sure.
That would be interesting.
So Cooper is promised no charges with Marvin's deal. And, we get that honor. So he's out. He's in the clear. We do get a nice Agnes flashback of the first night she came to stay with Cooper when he promised to keep her safe. I really liked that. I thought that was very sweet.
Even though it was yet another actor to play Agnes.
Yeah. Well, it's 2 years earlier. And it's just like, okay.
You haven't changed much in 2 years as a kid. I mean, she was already 7 when we had the ballet
it depends.
dance recital.
Look at the Stranger Things kids. They are like 46 years old now.
I haven't started it yet. Shh. I was watching Blacklist.
I haven't either, but I've seen the trailers. My God. They're literally in college or something. Wrestler has a nice conversation with Gerard, and I like that. I like that kind of back and forth he had with Marvin.
I was kind of interested there to see if Wrestler was going to do something and take matters into his own hands because his lover was killed. That was where it got a little tense. I was like, ooh, this could be interesting here.
I would have liked it a little bit.
Like at least punch him in the face or something,
Everybody was awful nice to Marvin.
Well, because they knew that they had to do it for Cooper.
No, I get that. But in the same token, he killed the woman we were all mourning for 2 years,
Yeah.
Or actually almost 3 years. Almost 3 years at this point. Panabaker, Marvin went to war with Reddington and lost. And then he says, you're a senator. Think bigger. And she basically gets that deal put in place so that Marvin can replace Red. Maiden Justice is okay with Marvin getting that deal. And then arrest warrants are immediately issued for Red. And a new task force is being sourced as they speak. It was insane how fast this deal went through. But I assume this means that we'll probably have our task force back when they come back.
Yeah, because Reddington is now reinstated because Marvin's dead, so our task force remains, and all of that we just watched didn't really mean anything at all.
Does that bother you?
I mean, it gets a little bit old sometimes when you're like, oh, let's break up the band, and then same kind of stuff happened on the 400th episode of Grey's Anatomy, where it's like everybody's looks like they're leaving, and then you don't know if they're really coming back or not next season. Gives you the opening for them to come back, kind of like Aram. Aram sure sounds like he's pretty much done. He wants to take some time away, go ride his bike, go to a Broadway show, eat some pizza. It made it sound like Aram's not coming back next season, but he could. It
sounds like,
but he could because it left it open.
Yeah, possibly.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who actually comes back for 10.
Okay, so Weecha is in the hospital, I think. We left her. That's the last we saw of her in episode 1 of this, right?
Yep, and then Mirza came in and was sitting by her side and talking to Red. So basically Red just is going to go pick up the ladies and go, all right, we're going home, ladies, let's go. So
the impression that you got was that Mirza was never really captive. It's just a video with they just put the red dot on her kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was actually targeted. Like there was actually a sniper that was going to kill her. Yeah.
Right. But she wasn't like taken is what I'm saying.
No, not taken.
She was not
she was in the
hostage.
window of the camper.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So once again, we're going to Red. There's a moment where Red blames Cooper for like everything. Everything is his fault because you wouldn't be in this mess if you just would have came to me. This is all your fault and da-da-da.
You should go to jail because you broke the law and you did all this stuff. Like, yeah, you should be arrested. Screw you, Cooper.
And this is where my hate mail comes from all the time. I'm sick of hearing Red say this crap. I feel like
you just attacked James Spader.
I know.
You were so dead. So dead.
Even though he's one of my favorite actors of all time. But you're right. I'm somehow attacking James Spader. And his performance is great. I'm talking about the character of Red. He doesn't take responsibility for shit.
Anything.
Nothing. So as far as I'm concerned, as soon as he starts like belittling Cooper, doing that whole bully thing, I'm just like, I'm on Cooper. Team Cooper. Guy was just trying to handle his business because he didn't want everything to fall apart and he didn't want to lose Agnes. And if anybody should be able to understand that, it should be Red.
You should have came to me because of Agnes, you jerk.
Tired of hearing it, man. Time to own up for some stuff. Take some real responsibility. And this is where people will tweet, in episode, for 3 seconds, he felt bad about something right before he killed somebody else that didn't deserve it. So this is where I say, shh. Okay. But it's Red. How do you not love Red? So Red talks to Carolyn, whose dad is Alfred. Carolyn was Red's investment. Now she's a lawyer, a.k.a. she's actually a judge. We find out, which is a nice turn of events.
She's even better than Marvin Gerard.
Yeah, she's even better. And I got a feeling she might be maybe the new number 2.
I would think so.
Not number 2. Really dug her, by the way. So I hope that character comes back.
For sure.
So Red calls him that favor that he was owed. That's how he got into that judge's office. And Red understands Marvin's turn of events because he admits he made some emotional decision making in regards to Liz.
What?
But
he made some emotional decisions?
I don't
I don't believe that for a second.
But in the same token, it wasn't your decision to make, you son of a
Correct.
bitch. And then he lets him walk away.
You're the boss. You're the boss. You were never a partner. You were an employee.
Exactly. Well, that's a lesson a lot of employees got to learn sometimes. You know,
you overstepped.
You're not in charge, and it's not up to you who gets promoted. Sometimes it's the person that just knows the guy. You know, that's what happens. And then of course we get the end. You know, Harold. I'll never forget what tomorrow is. It's 3 years since we lost Elizabeth, which was sweet.
Cut to gravesite.
Yeah, cut to gravesite. So more confirmation, in my opinion, of their connection, and then we move on. So we've got Aram's going to take a leave of absence. He's gone. Park's gone. I'm sure they'll both be back by the time the season commences. I did like when Aram said he's going to maybe catch a Broadway show. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah. Maybe he's going to see the Kite Runner.
I would think, right?
I would hope so.
The one that Amir Harrison's in looks just like Aram.
Looks just like him. Like a twin.
Yeah. Spitting image. All right. Well, so that is those 2 episodes. And I got to ask you before we move on, we've got a couple other things, but season's over, man. What do you think of the season overall? Like, any final thoughts or opinions, or what are you looking forward to going into next year? What?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like 3 things that I'll take away from season 9. Number 1, they tried to do something different in order to do the show without Elizabeth Keene, the character, even though she was very present for most of the year. And I applaud them for the attempt. 2, I think it was interesting seeing Dembe be opposite Red for a good chunk of the season, because it tests out whether or not that's actually viable from a story perspective, because you can always have him go back to Red in a heartbeat if you needed to. So I think that was a bold move, and I kind of like that move. The 3rd thing I'm going to take away from it, though, is like, it's a kind of a season you didn't need, because we literally are back exactly to where we were. We just answered the one hangover question we had from season 8, which was, how the hell did Van Dyke find her?
Took a while to answer that question.
It took 22 episodes to answer how did Van Dyke find her, which could have been one episode where it literally could have been like Marvin Gerard Conclusion as the season premiere. Wu Jing still gets, it could have been a 2-hour premiere, just like these last 2 episodes, done just those 2 episodes. And then we could have gone into maybe some of the flashbacks, but we could have literally already been on the Legion of Doom 21 episodes earlier.
We got to think of a cooler thing to call it. That's what we have all summer to think of, right?
Yeah.
The Lists of Black Death, the
Black Sabbath. There's no rest for Red on a Sunday.
Red Ledger. That's like a Black Widow. You know, she always like, I got red on my ledger. You gotta think about that. Here's a fun hashtag game for the summer. Come up with a cool name for the Blacklist villains that we can call them.
The Blacklist Villains Super Squad.
Yeah. Well, you guys, seriously, I want to hear what you have to say, because what Troy's coming up with is nonsense. So we need something cool, something clever. I want to hear what you guys can come up with, and we're going to have a little nickname when we come back. Now, they're bringing them all back as long as Tom Keene's not one of them, because I don't know if you heard, but that son of a bitch is dead. He can't go back.
With the added emphasis, just in case you didn't get the subtle hint that was already thrown out at you.
Unless we have a Blacklist Halloween episode and he comes back as a zombie, because he's dead.
Could be cool. We need the we need the Thanksgiving episode. We need the Halloween episode. We need the musical episode.
Or maybe Agnes will hallucinate on some LSD with Red, and then see him in the window or something on his way in Scrubs on his way to the hospital. We're
gonna get a whole bank of Blacklisters doing a chorus line or something at the musical episode.
That would be fun. That would be fun. That would be fun. I want Tony Shalhoub back. He's alive, right?
Alistair Pitt. Gosh, yeah.
His character didn't die, I don't think.
I don't remember. I thought he did, though, because the Glenn ended up with the dogs.
Oh, maybe he did. Son of a bitch.
We'll have to go look at that sheet. See who's deceased and who's not deceased.
But I will say, if they wanted to, they've got a really nice potential to actually bring back Kaplan, because they did say body wasn't found, floated on the thing, and now her sister's been killed, all because of Red.
Yeah. Well, in 5 years, Aaron, we're going to say like Aaron said in 2022.
For season 15.
Kaplan returns.
But I'm just saying, there's a nice setup right there. There's a good setup to bring Kaplan back.
Poor Maureen. She didn't deserve to die.
She didn't.
Assuming that was Maureen. It sure looked like Maureen in the window.
It was Maureen. People.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because then we had like the whole check her body after the fact. Yeah.
Not to mention all the internet detectives. They all zoomed in and saw. I still say Weeches.
Did they zoom in and enhance?
Yeah, they enhanced, of course. Of course. Didn't you know? You can do that. Magic. Replace pixels. Okay, well, my thoughts on the season, I think I've already spoken to them. I feel like this is a lot more exciting. This gives me something to look forward to, where I feel like this season was kind of rambling for a lot, trying to find its voice a lot. And I feel like they found it. There were some good episodes, though. I love the Dembe episode. There's a lot of good ones in there.
I didn't like the wrestler episode.
Yeah. There's some good stuff in there.
There's a lot of good TV here.
But in terms of like the show overall, to me, I don't think it's a strong season. But this really sets up something that could be a lot of fun if they play it right.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Coming back in January, not the fall.
They're coming back in January, kids. Coming back in January. And we want to take a second to say thank you.
We're assuming it comes back in January. It could come back in March.
No, they already announced it, January. Well, they said
mid-season.
Well, it's going to be like 22 episodes. Going to come back in March? I don't think so.
2 hours every week. Just blow it out.
Jesus Christ. No, don't. That's a lot.
Why not? Stranger Things episodes are an hour and 14, hour and 16. Why can't the Blacklist episodes be
the
that
last
long?
episode of Stranger Things, episode 9, is 2 hours and 30 minutes for no reason that makes any sense to anyone. Wild.
Except for people that sell the pens, because you're going to.
Hey, want to tell you guys, if you like hearing Troy and I, we also do the Hollywood Outsider together. So you can find that in your podcast apps, where we talk about movie and TV every single week. And we have a lot of fun, and we have a lot of interesting discussion. We had a really good conversation recently on movie and TV ratings and how that works. And that was actually pretty fascinating.
Parental ratings, we should say.
Yeah. Parental ratings, not critical ratings. And we just talked about our movie stars.
Still a thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff we talk about. So go find the Hollywood Outsider. You can go to any podcast app or thehollywoodoutsider.com. You can hear Aaron and Troy over the summer while you're waiting for the Blacklist to return. But before we exit out of here, we got more to talk about. Want to take a quick second to say thank you to those of you that are supporting the show by going to Patreon. That's Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Special big thanks to our honorary Blacklister, Patricia. Also, special shout out to our task force members, Marilyn, Cindy, James, Jens, Joanne, Johnny, Justin, Catherine, Karen, Sharon, Lacey Ann, and Vanessa are all official task force members. All of these people not only keep this show going and really, really help us, and we do appreciate everything they do, but they also receive some cool gifts from us, and you can get a gift too for donating at the $20 level or higher. Do you want a cool t-shirt or a coffee mug? You don't have to stay that level forever, just for a few months to get that cool gift.
And if you're a $5 patron, you get the episode before anybody else. That's right. Immediately when the show ends on the East Coast, boom, episode is there, unless Aaron's out of town. But most of the time it's there for you, and you can get that for $5 over at Patreon, patreon.com/theblacklistgsm. Fill the fedora, and we'll be back with Special Agent Intel right after this.
Hello, this is Daryl from the Fringe Podcast. Fringe fans have asked us many times to create a rewatch podcast. That time has finally arrived. I'm excited to announce the Fringe Podcast Rewatch. Of course, I won't be podcasting alone. Hey, you're not Clint. You're Chris.
Well, Clint is tied up doing sciencey things right now, so he's not able to join us. But don't worry, he'll hop in from time to time to share some great insights with us.
I can't think of any other person I'd rather have by my side than you, Chris. So what is the Fringe Podcast Rewatch?
The Fringe Podcast Rewatch is a podcast for Fringe fans who have already watched the series at least once. Starting Wednesday, May 18th, we'll rewatch one episode of Fringe. Then the following Wednesday, we'll record a podcast episode covering that Fringe episode. We'll repeat this pattern until we've rewatched all 100 episodes of the show. Check out fringerewatch.com for more info.
And stay Fringe-tastic.
Hey, Dembe Loyals, this is Hisham Tawfiq. You are listening to Blacklist Exposed on Golden Spiral Media.
Okay, George Nauman is talking about the first episode.
The first episode.
Okay.
The first part.
I really enjoyed this episode, even though I suspected Marvin for weeks, being fairly certain he was the mastermind behind everything, didn't cheapen the reveal for me. Fisher Stevens was excellent, and I think he will prove to be a good adversary for Red these final 2 episodes. I would agree with that. Yep, he did. I do have one comment and one question. I have seen many fans question how Marvin could have known about Doug Coster. While it is certainly possible Red could have mentioned it over the years, I also think it is possible that Marvin may have been the lawyer who handled Liz's will and therefore Agnes's guardianship placement with the Coopers. It is likely that Harold and Charlene would have disclosed the Doug Coster affair, so there would be no surprises or skeletons in the closet when the judge made the final guardianship placement. I also 100% believe that Marvin did not know Red's true identity, aka, in my opinion, Katerina, is what he wrote, not me. Had he known Liz was Red's daughter, he may have decided not to have her killed and better understood why Red chose her as her heir. Marvin's son committed suicide when he was a teenager, so he knows the pain of losing a child and most likely would have wanted to spare Red that pain had he known their relationship. That said, what do you think the chances are that Red confirms to Marvin right before he kills him, so Marvin fully understands that Liz indeed was his child? It would be a perfect opportunity to better clarify for fans still in doubt the 8/22 ending. Well, here's what I got to say on that, George, and then I'll let Troy talk because he loves to talk on this theory. One, I don't believe they're ever gonna say point blank, Red is Katerina. I don't think they need to. I think they really nailed it in 8/22 because the last flashback where Katerina is holding her as a baby, Liz is dead. That is total, and what babies remember hanging out with their mom. That's totally Red's flashback. I think that's all you need to do. Plus, everything else in this season has really solidified that as the answer. So I don't think you're ever going to have that happen. We know for a fact now that it didn't happen in this episode, and I also don't think Marvin knew that that was the case because only Dembe knew that. Even Kaplan didn't know that. So there you go. That's what I have to say. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think asked and answered is what we'll say. And I think that you're right. I don't think Marvin knew, because if Marvin knew, he wouldn't have gone through with this for sure. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, Red's Katerina and Marvin's a tool and he's dead.
And his motivations make no sense because with all that's going on, you'd think he'd want to know, why do you care so much about this chick?
Why is it every time we get to a certain point in the show and people can just ask the question, do we not ask the question?
I wonder.
I love you.
I wonder, do I?
Red.
I wonder.
Season 6, Death Row. I love you.
I don't even know.
Sitting in the judge's office. Red. Why the hell were you going to give it to her?
Exactly. It's amazing no one asks a rational question in the show. But all right, next to you.
I believe it's Ciceri Borgia said season 9 has finally started airing here in the United Kingdom. So it'll be a pleasure to listen to you guys again, especially after old episodes were not available anymore. And I stopped listening to old podcasts. Oh no. But now you're in. So
welcome back.
You'll have some fun with season 9 for sure.
Welcome back. Brett's Walzer. He said, you have to love how during the replay of Liz's death at Pasquale's, the very fitting lyric at the moment of the bullet's impact was, "There goes my baby," which I think you already talked about this episode.
I did.
Also seeing Pasquale's again reminded me that we should have a Blacklist Exposed meetup at that restaurant sometime. Oh, that would be cool. Where's that restaurant at?
Totally down for that. We'll have to get the address from somebody. Maybe Pepe knows where it is.
It's in New York, right?
It's in New York, yeah. So then we can make that happen once airfare becomes, reasonable again.
Yeah, it's really expensive, man.
I was in downtown Chicago yesterday, and
congratulations.
I saw gas for $6.50 in the city. $6.50 in the Midwest. This is ludicrous, people. Ludicrous.
Oh, I saw a great meme with Amber Heard in it. It said gas prices can't get any crazier. And then it said gas prices in a picture of Amber Heard. Now that's not nice, but I laughed.
That is funny.
Sorry.
I mean,
that's horrible.
Like Red has some access to ports and stuff. Don't you think he can like import some crude just so we can like get some relief here? Come on, buddy. You can do it.
He probably could if he wasn't a fictional character.
Isn't everybody?
Which is kind of why, like,
everybody in Congress a fictional character?
Which is always why I love, and it never makes me stop giggling as a person. Which makes me probably a snarky dick, I'm sure, to some people. But
kind of makes you. Kind of makes you.
Wow. You can just the hell off. So when you critique anything Red does and people act like I'm attacking James Spader, always makes me laugh because I'm like, they're not the same thing. One is an actor.
Except for that one time. That one time we thought he was the same person.
Well, yeah, in person he kind of comes across very much like he was kind of enjoying that vibe. Yeah. Yeah. Which if I was a criminal mastermind and I was playing one for every week for 10 years, I'd probably start to
become the person you're playing. Yeah.
You revel in it a little bit, right?
Sure.
It's kind of cool. But yeah, they're two completely different. Well, one's not real. So there you go. He's playing the character. It's always funny. Always makes me laugh. Anything else, man? I mean, big summer plans? You got anything cool going on this summer? Since we're going to be gone for a little bit?
We're going to do a little bit of biking. Sure. I'm actually going to ride across potentially 2 states this summer on my bicycle.
Like
bicycle. We're going to go from La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Or you just drive to Wisconsin and back?
Yeah, we're going to go La Crosse, Wisconsin, which is like west central, to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is southeast from basically the Mississippi River to Lake Michigan. And then we're potentially, because we're already in shape for it based on the training plan that we looked at, we may also do Ragbri, which is a real great bike race across Iowa, where you dip your back tire in the Missouri River and then dip your front tire in the Mississippi River. So we'll do 2. Now, if I do 2 states this year, that means I'm going to have to add the other 46 onto the bucket list.
You want to ride your bicycle through all 50 states?
All 48 contiguous states.
Well, if you're really a biker, I think you'd hit all 50. You'd hit Alaska and Hawaii.
Yeah, Alaska's too big because I'm already talking about riding just that little small part of Texas at the top. Mm-hmm. You know?
So it's fair to say you're obsessed with this bicycle thing.
I love it. I dropped 30 pounds. I have not reduced my waist size or my shirt size in like 20 years. So it's pretty fun.
Are you eating less?
I do eat less because I drink a lot more water. So I usually have like one really big meal a day and then like 2 small snack size meals and a crap ton of water.
Well, yeah, you're on your bicycle all the time. I don't know how you're able to eat
10 hours a week.
Snacks with you.
10 hours a week.
That's a lot of biking.
That's literally 1 hour of workout every day and a little extra ride on the weekend. It's not that much. That's what everybody should be doing, is getting out and doing some kind of movement for an hour a day.
I agree, but I don't get as much from biking as I do from running. That's
because you don't
burn as many calories.
That's because you don't have a jam box on your bike and you can just tune out with the tunes.
No, you're not. You're physically not burning as many calories. You have to go twice, some occasion, 3 times as long usually, to burn as many calories as I can in an hour of running.
I rode 27 miles today and I have burned 1,500 active calories and I burned overall 3,000 for 90 minutes of work.
That math doesn't check out. I think you must have an Apple Watch.
I have an Apple Watch.
That math does not work. You would not burn 3,000 calories in an hour and a half on bikes.
No, I burned 3,000 calories and I burned 1,500 calories in an hour and a half. And then for the day, because your body still burns calories as the day goes along. That's why you need 2,000 calories for the diet thing.
Calories throughout the day. You would burn that no matter what.
So I've burned 1,500 additional calories just existing.
I still think 1,500 is quite unless you're going like 40 miles an hour the whole time.
We'll go 20.
I mean, how high do you have the resistance here?
Pretty high because we're going 20 miles an hour. It's like second gear from the last.
Okay, just checking. I've done the calorie count and it's not even close, running versus biking. So I still prefer to run, but it's definitely better on your body to bicycle.
Yeah,
it's definitely better on your body.
Bicycle.
I feel like you get a lot more full body from running. I'm going to Cozumel with my wife on a vacation that has been postponed 5 times. 5 times. So fingers crossed. And of course, now I get a little, I got a little in my sinuses now. And I'm like, it's a week away. Seriously? God, bless America.
That's because you were literally in the wet and cold of the Upper Peninsula for 4 days.
I did take a COVID test. I wanted you to know that because we're going to, you and I are seeing Top Gun tomorrow. So I'm letting you know,
yeah, we are.
I'm good to go.
Woo woo.
I'll wear a mask though, because I don't want to get anybody sick. Even though it's just a cold, I don't want to get anybody sick. And then I'm going to Alaska in August.
Nice.
So
this is your second Alaska trip in as many years.
Yeah, I went last year. And it was great until the last day when I got food poisoning because it took a turn. But now I'm going back and I'm gonna get the full Alaska, the full week. So it'll be fun.
But full summers, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, full summers and the Hollywood Outsider.
Well, then what are we gonna do in the fall? Because we're not doing Blacklist in the fall.
I'm sure for Patreon supporters, I'm sure we'll do something, right?
Yeah.
But for what are we doing in the fall? I don't know. I'm going camping. I know at some point. That's about it.
Yep, that's what we usually do in September.
Yep.
Maybe we'll do more away football games because we don't have to be around on Fridays.
Got to go to a Packer game.
Yep.
I wonder if people are still listening. You're like, we don't care about your week. Well, I'm just telling you, that's what we're doing.
I'm going to have 2 in high school next year.
Oh, good. You're almost at the end.
Almost there. And this is my last year of private school for the young one. So I get a raise in the fall. It's awesome.
A raise. That's pretty funny.
I'm going to use it to buy some more adult Legos.
I respect that you got more toys.
Hey, June 1st. You heard it here, people. Go to the Lego store. If you're a Transformers fan, especially 1980s Autobots cartoon, you know what I'm talking about? They got Optimus Prime, fully transformable with Energon cubes in his windshield. And they've upgraded the design from the 1980s Transformer model toy where you had to used to pop off his fists in order to put him in the truck mode. Well, guess what? Lego figured it out. You don't have to take off the fists anymore. But it'll fully transform from truck to robot, Autobot, and it has the axe, and it has the gun, and it's so to spec that if you notice in the 80s cartoon, Optimus Prime has a little belt that shines in robot form, but it does not shine when it's the bumper of the truck. So you take that piece off when it's in truck mode and you put it back on when it's in robot mode. That's how detailed Lego is getting with this stuff for adults for our nostalgia factor. So if you want it, if you want an Optimus Prime, June 1st, be ready to click the button, drop $179.
I'm sorry, US. I kind of fell asleep while you were talking about all that. Can you repeat that?
It's awesome. It's so cool. I mean, it'll stand next to my giant Voltron that I got with all 5 lines that disassemble into the actual lions. It's so awesome.
Okay, I'm going to go into coma. Well, that will conclude this discussion. So now is the time to recommend the Blacklist to your friend, your enemy, or your neighbor. And when you do, please also recommend they listen and subscribe to the Blacklist Exposed podcast. I hope all of you have a fantastic summer full of sun and thrill and pools and snark and just have a wonderful time. All the case profiles can be found at theblacklistsexposed.com and everywhere great podcasts can be heard.
And if you want to follow what we're doing all summer and all fall, go ahead and head on over to the Twitters or over on the Facebook group. On the Twitter, I'm at Troy Heinrichs. He's at Aaron Smirks. The show is at The Blacklist GSM. If you go over to Facebook, it's facebook.com/group/The Blacklist GSM, or go to the website, theblacklistsexposed.com.
Big thanks for listening. Don't forget, hey, and if you're a Westworld fan, we'll be on Beyond Westworld this summer at some point. So check that out if you have not listened to it before, beyondwestworldpodcast.com, or you can go to thehollywoodoutsider.com as well.
You are literally listening to this show right now in your podcast player. Just hit pause, add Beyond Westworld. We will be there June 27th, right after the show airs on June 26th.
Boom. So don't forget to answer our profiling question for the summer, which I forgot what it was.
What do you think?
What is it?
Is Legion of Doom a cool idea? Do you want to see all the old Blacklisters come back and take out Red?
Exactly.
It's exciting.
Right, that's it. I'm going to go enjoy my summer. You guys have a wonderful time. See you in sometime soon.
Sometime soon. Mid-season.
And thanks, Rory. I would have been here. Just letting you know. Would have been here.
Love you, Rory. See you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs. That's at Troy Heinrichs on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at 5popcorn. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of
the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.